In this video, I'm going to introduce the families Canidae, the dog family, and Felidae, the cat family. But I'm also going to talk about some of the other carnivore groups that we don't talk about much because we don't have them in Montana. If we look at all of the carnivores in the world, we see a clear divide between the dog-like carnivores and the cat-like carnivores. Here are the dog-like carnivores in the red lines on the kind of top, and the cat-like in the bottom in the blue. Within these dog-like carnivores, we've already looked at bears and Procyonidae, the raccoons and relatives. There are some other groups, though, that we don't have here in Montana, including the red panda, which is the only member of its genus and the only member of its family. And if anyone here is from the coast, you may be familiar with Phocidae, the earless seals, Otariidae, the eared seals, so here is where sea lions fit in, and the lonely walrus, again, the only species in its family. These two groups, Mustelidae and Mephididae, we'll talk about next week. Those are Mustelidae are the weasels, the minks, otters, badger, wolverine, just a lot of stuff. And Mephididae, skunks. But we'll talk about that next week. So that all that leaves now is Canidae within the dog-like. So these are all of the Canidae species. We'll start with genus Canis. This includes the coyote, the wolf, and the dog. And the reason why I have these all together here is because genetically, there's not much different between coyotes, wolves, and dogs. Coyotes, Canis latrans, this is one that we do need to know for this class. Wolf, Canis lupus, here in Montana are generally quite distinct. However, as you move east, you may hear of coy wolves because in lots of places, especially the East Coast, also around the Great Lakes, there's a lot of hybridization between coyotes and wolves. And this leads to some really interesting genetics and some really interesting questions about how to deal with conservation that is species-based when nature is hybridizing and doing all crazy weird things. But here in Montana, this is not that much of a concern because while there is some hybridization, coyotes and wolves generally quite different. The dog, coyote or Canis familiaris, sometimes called just a subspecies of wolves, because as you are probably all aware, dogs were domesticated from wolves. In this class, we're not going to have you identify the difference between a wolf and a dog, because while your key does have some type of criteria, generally there are a lot of dogs that look too much like a coyote or a wolf for the skull to be really, really certainly identified. So kind of depends on where you are, whether you expect it to be a dog or a coyote or a wolf. If you find a skull, say, in a city, most likely to be a dog. But as you know, dogs come in all shapes and sizes. And so while some, like the husky, might be very similar to the wolf, others have very, very different skulls. And this is because we've bred them this way. But the really interesting thing when you look at these skulls is you can see that even though the bones have changed shape and size, they still have the same number of teeth. So taking the wolf basic form and then through selective breeding, ending up with all these different weird, crazy shapes. Moving on then, we have some other members of the genus Canis, including jackals. Jackals basically fill the same niche in the old world as coyotes do in the new world. So here we're talking about Africa and the Middle East, where we have these jackals. There are some other large dog species that are not wolves, Canis lupus, but you may have actually probably not heard of these in other places in the world, including Africa and the dhole there is from Asia. Over in South America, there are lots of dog species, which we call zorros. Zorro being Spanish for fox, also used as an English term sometimes to refer to South American foxes different than foxes in genus Vulpes, which we'll mention later. There are a few other South American dogs. I really like these guys. The bush dog is found in groups living in the rainforest. The maned wolf is related to all these South American dogs, so it's not related to other wolves. But that is found in the grasslands of South America. Now, these are the quote-unquote true foxes, genus Vulpes. These are found all over the world. We have fennec foxes in Africa. We have Arctic foxes way up north, Corsic fox in Asia, kit fox in the desert Southwest United States. The two that we're going to look at are the red fox and the swift fox. The swift fox over on the right is found in the Great Plains. So you will find this species in eastern Montana, but you will not find it around Missoula. The red fox, well, it's all over. Originally native to almost all of the northern hemisphere, except for the tropics. It's been introduced to Australia, as you can see on that little map, and it also tends to follow humans because it does really well in urban areas. So Vulpes vulpes and Vulpes velox, the two fox species that we need to know in Montana. Unfortunately, we don't have any gray foxes. These are found in other parts of the United States, a little further south. Gray foxes are very distantly related from all other dogs, a really interesting lineage. They also climb trees, which most dogs don't. And then the bat-eared fox in Africa. My favorite dog, though, is the raccoon dog found in Japan and China, Korea, East Asia. Also been introduced to Eastern Europe because it was brought there for the fur trade, and then some escaped, and now there's a feral population. Raccoon dogs are also called tanukis in Japanese culture. They're really important. They're connected to these spirits that I don't know too much about, but you can look it up. So that covers it for all of the dog-like carnivores, except again for the mustelids and the mephidids that we'll talk about next week. Looking at the cat-like carnivores, you're probably much less familiar with these, and that's because apart from cats, we don't have any of these in North America. But you may still have heard of some. So in this family, Herpestidae, we have mongooses and meerkats. If you think of in, say, North American animal communities, how we have weasels, in Africa and Asia, there tend to be fewer weasels and more mongooses. This family right here is kind of odd. This is only found on the island of Madagascar and has diversified into 10 different species of really unique, weird carnivores, including the fossa here. Hyenidae, I'm sure you're all aware of hyenas, 4 species. Hyenas are just awesome. My favorite is in the bottom right, the aardwolf, much smaller than the rest of them. It eats termites, whereas the other ones, eat meat. Yeah. And then Viverridae we have here. Now, what I was saying about kind of weasels versus mongoose, if you think of that kind of comparison, then you have the martens and the minks and the fishers in North America. Well, in Africa and Asia, you have civets. So these are similar to, say, a marten or a fisher, sometimes even bigger, but distinct convergent evolution, one from the dog-like, these from the cat-like lineages of carnivores. These are mostly found in the tropics. There is one species of genet that is found in Europe, but otherwise tropical Africa and Asia. All right, so now we get to cats. Everyone here knows cats. Let's start with the big ones. The big five Panthera species: lion, tiger, snow leopard, leopard, bottom left, jaguar, bottom right. Got some other ones that are not technically in the big cats, including the clouded leopard in Southeast Asia. This is a photo taken on a camera trap as part of Dr. Brody's research. And then the cheetah. Moving a little smaller now, genus Puma, we have the jaguarundi on the left, and the cougar, mountain lion, puma, panther, catamount. It has lots of different names on the right. The jaguarundi, found in Central and South America, not quite into United States. Puma, found all over North America and South America. Well, I say all over. It's been extirpated from a lot of the eastern United States, but was originally all over North America. Everyone here should be familiar with bobcat and lynx. There are two other lynx species that you're probably not aware of. Eurasian lynx, found all throughout Europe and Asia, and the Iberian lynx, only found in parts of Spain and Portugal. In this class, we're going to look at the bobcat and the lynx and learn how to identify them. They're quite similar, especially the skulls, so we'll spend a while looking at that. So beyond those, there are lots of other cats in the world, lots of small cats. In Central and South America, we have lots of different species, especially in the rainforest, but also in the temperate grasslands, South America. We have a little bit larger cats in Africa and the Middle East, with the caracals, servals, golden cats. And then there are all sorts of small cats found in Africa and Europe and Asia. In Europe, we're talking about the wild cat over to the right, which is what our domestic cats are domesticated from. And then for the different species, other than that, they've adapted to different environments. So you find them up in mountains and rainforests and in grasslands and deserts and all over the place. So now let's wrap up and review the species that we need to know for this class. So we have Canis lupus, the wolf, Canis latrans, the coyote, Vulpes vulpes, the red fox, Vulpes velox, the swift fox, Lynx canadensis, the Canadian lynx, Lynx rufus, the bobcat, Puma concolor, the puma / cougar / mountain lion, whatever you want to call it. And we're also going to add Felis catus. So I mentioned we're not doing the dog because it's too, well, it can be too similar to Canis lupus and Canis latrans. In other cases, it can be very different, but we're not going to bother with that. We are going to look at the domestic cat, originally just domesticated from the wild cat. But here, we'll just look at that in comparison to, say, the lynx and the bobcat. So let's figure out how to ID these then.